everybody, and welcome to another ASMR video here on the channel. Tonight's video, we're back with more scary stories for you. We did Let's Not Meet last time, so you know we always alternate, so we're back on the No Sleep Reddit thread. So hopefully you get scared, you get relaxed, or maybe somehow even get some sleep. A little note that the first members exclusive video for the Ghost Hunters tier is going live on Friday. So if you want an extra 1 hour long scary stories video per month, then be sure to join the memberships down below. So without further ado, let's get into story number 1. Our first story is titled, "My housemate is dead, but everyone is pretending she's not." It all started last week. I live with 4 roommates, Jess, Lily, Dane and Miguel. Lily is the one who I'm pretty sure is dead, even though my housemates all say she's pretending. At first I did think she was pretending. It's an old trick of hers. She's super introverted, and sometimes if she's overwhelmed or just doesn't want to talk, she'll pretend to be asleep. We call it her playing possum. But now she's been playing possum for nearly a week. Her eyes are open, her face is this greyish white and has been turning kind of purplish. Her body is bloating, and I saw a fly land on her eyeball, and I think it laid eggs there. She hasn't changed out of her panda onesie since she started playing possum last Monday. She smells like a corpse smells. Rotting meat. And that panda onesie is so gross. I'm pretty sure she died in it last Monday, and everyone is just in some kind of denial. But does that even make sense? I mean, how is it that 3 other people are all saying she's alive and that I'm the delusional one? Is it just some bizarre social experiment? I keep on waiting for some reality TV host to pop out from behind the potted plant and a hidden audience to start laughing or clapping. I feel like I'm coming unglued from reality. I'm sitting on the sofa as I write this, by the way. Sitting here looking across the TV room at Lily, who is propped up in the same chair she died in. Eyes wide open, flesh bloated and lips purplish, and skin just. I think she's gonna start leaking into that chair. But let us rewind to last Sunday. Sunday is when we hit the old lady's cat. It wasn't on purpose. We'd all had a bit too much to drink, and I was driving, and Dane was in the passenger seat, and Jess and Miguel and Lily were in the back. And the cat, it just raced out into the road, solid black, and then there was a thump. My stomach flipped. And then this old woman came out of her house and saw her cat had been hit and screamed and screamed. Lily told her she should have kept her cat inside, not let it wander near a busy road. Anyway, long story short, I think that lady was a witch and hexed us for killing her cat. More specifically, I think she hexed Lily. I mean, I don't think, I know. Because the woman said some strange words in a strange language, and we all called her crazy and drove home. So that was Sunday night. Come Monday, when I came out for breakfast, I was up early as usual. The only other person out in a chair in the living room was Lily, bundled up in her panda onesie. I said good morning, but she had a 1,000-yard stare. I figured she just wanted to be left alone and didn't think anything more of it until I got home from work in the afternoon. still in the chair, same exact pose, still in her panda onesie. I asked if she was alright. Miguel was playing a video game and he answered for her. Said Lily was sick and had stayed home from classes. I hope you feel better, I told Lily. She didn't respond. Lily, I said. She didn't respond. Hey Lily, I said that I hope. Jill, just leave her alone, snapped Miguel, who seemed annoyed because I was interrupting his game. I thought it was weird, but I let it go because he was acting so normal. But at dinner she was still in her chair in the same pose and hadn't moved. I tried talking to Jess, who told me, she'll be fine, it's just a cold. This behaviour went on for days, and just any time I tried to ask any of my roommates if Lily was okay, they would act like I was the crazy one. I tried to point out she hadn't changed out of her onesie and was told to quit being an arsehole. She's sick, let her be. At one point I was staring at her from the sofa, trying to catch her blinking, and Jess yelled at me and told me to stop being such a creep, that I was weirding Lily out. They even put up a big cushion in front of her to block her from having to see me, which she clearly couldn't because she was by this point 3 days dead. I assumed once the rotting set in they would notice, but they just pretended all the harder, and in fact they even started staging her body. Like, I know it sounds really weird, I don't know why they did it or if it's some sick social experiment or what, but they moved her. I found her at the table one morning. She was slumped backwards over her chair, sightless eyes staring up at the ceiling. But everyone talked to her like she was alive. By this point she also stank. I mean, to the point I even noticed Miguel and Dane kind of surreptitiously keeping their distance and breathing through their mouths and not their noses around her. I tried to talk to them about this later, but Miguel just wrinkled his nose at me and said, yeah, I know it's gross, but she's super depressed. Jess says she's never seen Lily this bad before. She's mad upset about that cat, just let her be. We gotta let her work through this. She'll come out of it. Until then, things like showering and getting out of bed are really hard for her. I almost told him yes, those things would be hard for a dead person to do. But I didn't. Honestly, I didn't know how to respond. Finally, I managed to say, dude, I think she's rotting in that panda suit. He chuckled and shook his head and said, come on, don't be an arsehole. I finally did what I should have done from the beginning and called the police. I said I wanted a wellness check on Lily. My roommates tried to send them away, but I came downstairs and insisted and pointed to the corpse in the panda costume in the chair by the television. That chair was really gross by now. And the cops went over to examine her, and I really believed, really and truly, that we were all about to be arrested for having a dead girl rotting in our living room, congealing into that chair. But they pretended she was alive, the same as my roommates kept doing. She never spoke a word in answer to them, never moved. Later Jess took me aside and told me my actions were uncalled for, and that all I did was make things worse for Lily. So now I'm not sure what to do. They've provided an update now. It's been several more days since I wrote the above stuff, and as you can imagine, her body became severely decomposed. Also, I confronted my roommates. We got into a huge fight. I told them that clearly the witch's ex had done something to Lily, that it was blinding them and we were all living with a dead girl. They looked shaken after I pointed out the smell, was seeing things, but the entire house reeked of death. None of us could stand it. We could all smell it. I heard Miguel and Dane whisper about the smell later, but they clamped up at a death glare from Jess. So I finally decided to take action. Last night I bundled up the corpse in the panda suit and drove it out to the woods. There's these high bluffs out there. I tossed the corpse down the rocks. The animals out there will pick it to pieces, if it isn't already too rotted for them to eat. I came back home and also cleaned up around the house and put that disgusting chair out on the curb and finally went to bed. In the morning I woke to find Jess having a panic attack. She demanded to know where Lily was. I told her Lily left and Jess accused me of lying. Miguel seemed relieved though. While Jess went out in her car to go searching for Lily, Miguel told me he could finally breathe again and that it really had smelled bad in here and someone needed to do something. He said he hoped Lily got the help she needed, but that this wasn't the right place for her and she probably needed inpatient treatment. I refrained from telling him that I thought it was way too late for a hospital. Anyway, her body being gone should be a good thing, except I think the hex is now hitting the rest of us. Because Dane, he's always a late sleeper. He didn't wake up through Jess's freak out on my conversation with Miguel. But now it's afternoon and I just came out and found him sitting next to Miguel on the sofa, playing video games, only he's not actually playing. His eyes stare straight ahead of him. His hands don't move. There's a first-person shooter on the screen and Miguel keeps telling Dane he needs to step up his game. But Dane is literally doing nothing. Seeing nothing. I think he's like Lily was last Monday. Like the hex hit him and now he's dead, but nobody can see it. I don't know if I should wait for his body to rot, or if I should just take him out to the bluffs sooner. If this plays out the same way, Miguel won't stop pretending Dane is just fine. Jess will come home and also believe he's still fine. Even the police will believe it. Why am I the only one the hex didn't hit? Why am I the only one who can see that they're dead? I mean, little plot twist, maybe she is the only one that is hexed, and she just is viewing her housemates one by one that they're under the curse and is therefore killing them when actually they are still alive. Maybe. Who knows? That was a pretty good story. Pretty good. Right, our next story is titled I've been living the van life for a while now, but last night some kids knocked on my window. They wanted me to let them in. I don't know how long I have. My battery's at 14% and I don't dare start the van. If I do, they'll hear me. I know that sounds paranoid, but you didn't see them. Or maybe you have. If you have, tell me. I need to know how to get out of here. I travel alone and I document it. My channel isn't big yet, around 12,000 subscribers, but I post regularly. Off-grid campsites, fan conversions, solo trips, that kind of thing. I stay out of cities and I stay off well-worn paths. The further I am from people, the safer I feel. Tonight I'm parked off a forest road in Idaho, miles from the nearest town. It's the kind of place where if you screamed, nobody would hear you. That's one of my go-to videos, by the way. A big scream, loud as I can, and then just the silence afterwards. Basically, the place was perfect until the knock came. A single soft knock froze. It was just after 1 a.m. The woods were silent. No wind, no animal noises. My van is unmarked. I never advertise I'm a woman travelling alone, and I always wait and post my videos a week after I leave the spot, just to make sure no one catches on to where I'm parked. So how did someone find me, let alone creep up without setting off the motion lights? Another knock. Light. Insistent. There was no way this could be anything good, right? My heart was racing, my stomach already twisted into knots. Muscles pulled tight. I reached for my phone. My stupid fingers fumbled it, and it hit the floor mat. The thump seemed thunder loud, and when I sat back up, I nearly screamed. A child's face was pressed against the window. Pale skin, dark hair, wide, staring eyes. But something was wrong. The glass reflected weird, but there was no shine in the kid's pupils. Just black, completely black. I choked on my breath. Every instinct in me screamed wrong, wrong, wrong. Why was a child out there? I was so far away from any of the main roads. It wasn't the kind of place children would be. The kid didn't move, didn't blink. Then, another knock. My head snapped toward the sounds, my stomach dropped. There was a second one. A little girl this time, standing by my back doors. Same dark hair, same vacant black stare. I don't scare easy. I've slept in parking lots where guys tried breaking into my van. I've camped in places where the only sounds were coyotes circling. I'm not an adrenaline junkie, but I'm also not just starting out. But this was something else. I kept my hand low, fumbling for my knife while trying to keep my breathing steady. That sounds bad. These were just kids, right? But you don't understand. There was something wrong with them. The boy at the window finally spoke. Let us in. 3 words. No emotion, no inflection. Just a flat, empty demand. It made all my hair stand on end. He spoke again, more persistent this time. Let us in. The girl knocked again harder. I heard it rattle the doors. It was a childish response, but I grabbed my blanket and pulled it up over my shoulders, cowering beneath the heavy cotton like it was a shield. I clutched my knife so tightly it made my knuckles ache. I don't know how long I sat there, too afraid to breathe. I knew that if I opened the door, I wouldn't be able to close it again. Suddenly they stepped back. The dark of night engulfed the windows again. I barely had time to process that relief before a new sound nearly made me scream. A tap on the driver's side. I whipped around. There was a third child, a new one. This kid was a little taller. He was maybe 12 at the oldest, standing inches from my driver's side door. Unlike the other 2, he was grinning. The handle jerked, but I kept my doors closed so it didn't open. The grin widened. Let us in. The same 3 words again. It wasn't a question, it was a demand. I don't remember grabbing my keys, but suddenly they were in my hand. I flipped the ignition. The dashboard lit up. My heart slammed. If I had to, I'd run them over. But the engine didn't start. I turned the key again. Nothing. Nothing. The battery was fine, the gas was full. It had started just fine this afternoon, but right now the van wasn't starting. And the kids, they were still standing there, staring, smiling. I reached for my phone, fingers shaking. No service. Then the tapping started again. Every window, every door. A slow, measured rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. I must have blacked out at some point because the next thing I knew the van was filled with light. Sunlight. I woke up still clutching my knife. My doors were locked. My keys were still in the ignition. My phone was in my lap, battery at 23%. I risked a glance outside, but there was no sign of the kids. I opened the driver's door, heart hammering. The air smelled like damp earth, pine, a beautiful misty morning. My tyres were untouched. There were no footprints in the loamy soil. It was like they'd never been here at all. But they were. I know they were. And I know they're still out there too, because my van still won't start. And I'm worried that tonight, the knock will come again. Yeah, that was freaky. I mean, obviously that would never happen in real life, but people that, live in their vans by themselves are very brave. Like, I don't scare easy, but I feel like sleeping alone in the woods in a van, I just hyper-focus on every sound and everything going on around me, so fair play if you do that, but not for me. Okay, so our third story is titled, I Deleted Hinge, and You Should Too. He was beautiful, his profile was clever, plus he baked cupcakes in his free time. We matched, I broke the ice. He was quick to ask me on a date. Paint and sip, very nice. After a frenzied afternoon of shaving, exfoliating and spraying, I arrived a cool 4 minutes late. The moment I saw him, I took a mental snapshot just in case this was it. An unfortunate habit stuck firmly in place in 7th grade. His features were elegant and refined, his stature long and markedly lean. The type of person who attracted the eye effortlessly. He was lively and curious, and his nose wrinkled when he laughed, my favourite. With paint smeared and wine guzzled, our masterpieces were complete. It was a brisk, drizzly evening. We bumped against each other every few steps and took turns critiquing each painting, affecting a snobby eyebrow sensibility. His shoulder felt solid despite his wiry appearance. He must work out, I thought. We kissed against a wrought iron fence bathed in the amber glow of an old street lamp, his tongue gentle and sweet against mine. I realised I was reading 50 Shades of Grey, but here we go. He pulled away for a moment, cupping my face affectionately. You taste so good. He leaned back in, pressing more passionately than before. His tongue ventured deeper and deeper into my mouth, probing, exploring. Before I knew it, it stroked my uvula. Oh my gosh. My stomach heaved, and a surge of bile rose in my throat. I instinctively tried to push him away, out of the splash zone, but he was dense and did not budge. My nausea was quickly replaced with sheer embarrassment. He apologized endlessly and admitted that he had not done this in a very long time. The abashed flush only made his face more handsome. I mentally placed our paintings side by side above the tasteful couch we were certain to share in a year or two. But even perfect evenings must end. I'll call you an Uber, he declared. How chivalrous of you, but thank you, there's no need. I live like 3 blocks away. No way. What cross street? 87th and Amsterdam. You're kidding. I live right there, he nearly shouted. We giggled like children as we continued along, referencing to our old inside jokes. Soon my building towered over us, the burgundy brick etched in stark our shadows. His jaw hung agape. No, this is a prank. Where are the cameras? This is my building. That's insane, I cried. How did I not realise? A key turn later, we were stomping up the dank, spongy stairs, 1, 2, 3 flights up, up, up. With each floor we grew giddier, more incredulous. I saw my door then, a familiar seasick green, paint chipped at the corners to reveal the previous crimson varnish underneath. A shabby 9A hung slightly askew. He approached it like an old friend. Well, this is me. I stopped, dead. My hackles only now raising. Too little, too late. This one, 9A. He paused, calculating, then abruptly bellowed, "Yes, ma'am, home sweet home." He slapped the door sharply. The artful curve of his face twisted very slightly. Something strained and eager was there, right below the surface. "Can I come in? I'm curious if that's the same layout as mine," I tested, wondering how far he'd take this. He blushed and shifted his weight, the perfect performance of sincerity. "I'm flattered, but I really like you. I'd like to take things slow if that's okay with you." He smiled neatly, but his eyes remained wide, unblinking. There we stayed for an uncomfortably long moment. I wasn't sure where to go from here. "I understand. Thank you for a wonderful evening." I presented my hand for a friendly shake, chest puffed out with counterfeit confidence. Behind my rib cage my heart galloped wildly. He must have heard it too. His spindly fingers laced through mine, the skin cool and waxy. How did I not notice that before? "You'll see me again, sooner than you think, neighbour." His strained cheeriness made my stomach churn. I left him there, outside the door to my own home, and continued up the stairs, fighting the urge to sprint away. Where else could I go but the roof? The night air stung my adrenaline-soaked skin. I flew to the crumbling edge and peered at the dizzying sidewalk below. The minutes slid by slowly, but finally the front door squealed opened. 1, 2, 3 crisp footsteps, and there he was, so many flights below me. He looked small all the way down there. He remained perfectly still. What was he doing? I thought of those big cats in Nat Geo documentaries. Infinitely patient, ever ravenous. My pulse roared in my ears. I did not make a sound, I swear, and yet that lovely head swiveled 180 degrees, his wide-eyed gaze immediately locating me. There we remained, tortuously frozen in time. In a split second he spun on his heels and threw himself at the brick facade with inhuman speed. I swear to you he scuttled up the side of the building, sinewy limbs flailing violently. My legs took over and dragged me from that spot by force. I burst back inside in record time, but his footsteps already scrambled onto the roof behind me. God, he was fast. I wouldn't make it. I threw myself at the mercy of gravity, hoping those trusty stairs would be there to support me. Sure enough, they came one after the other. In a moment I was at my door, but those infernal footfalls careened closer and closer with punishing speed. My numb fingers fumbled with the keys. Why did I have so many goddamn keys? Slick with sweat, I managed to shakily insert the correct one, turning it hurriedly. The door rasped ajar, pleading for me to come in quick. 1 foot to safety, I swiveled on my axis, Inches behind, he rocketed towards me, joints hinged far past their breaking point, torso flung back in a grotesque arc so deep that his exquisite skull dragged behind him, slamming mercilessly against each step with an appalling thud, thud, thud. At the threshold, he, or more accurately it, lurched forward like an awful marionette puppet. That refined jaw split open, revealing a fleshy throat with rows of gleaming teeth spiralling into its depths. Just in time, I flung the door shut and threw my weight against it, bracing for an impact that never came. Silence. Then my phone buzzed. One new message. My breath caught in my throat, though every cell in my body begged me not to. I turned my fearful gaze. The text read, "Look behind you, smiley face." There, through the living room window, hardly discernible in the inky darkness, the awful thing's eyes bulged, an endless abyss of pitch black. Its taut skin pulled back to reveal a dripping, toothy grin. Then a camera flash. I blinked away, stars fighting to see around the blind spot in my vision. I squinted through the murky glass, searching for that dreadful face. But it was gone. I haven't left my apartment all day. I don't know if I ever will again. The daylight offers some comfort, but with each passing minute, the sun creeps closer to the horizon. I'll update you all tomorrow, if I make it. If not, I hope this post helps someone out there. And please, for the love of God, delete Hinge. And our final story for the video tonight is titled, "My sister died 6 years ago, but she still calls every night at 3:15 AM. I know how this sounds. Another fake ghost story, another desperate attempt for attention. But I promise you, if you were me, if you had to hear what I hear every single night, you wouldn't be so quick to call it fake. My sister Emily died in a car accident 6 years ago. She was 19, a freshman in college, full of life. Her laugh was loud, contagious. She was the kind of person who walked into a room and made it feel warmer. I was 21 at the time, her big brother. I was supposed to protect her. I failed. It happened on a Saturday night. The roads were wet from the storm earlier that day, the air thick with mist. We were coming back from a party. She was drunk, but I was sober. I was the responsible one. Until I wasn't. I wasn't speeding and I wasn't under the influence. But I made a mistake. A small, stupid mistake that lasted 4 seconds. I checked my phone. Just a glance, a quick look to see who had texted me. By the time I looked back up, the truck had already veered into our lane. The impact was instant. I remember the glass shattering, the metal bending, my head slamming into the steering wheel. I blacked out. When I woke up, everything was too quiet. The kind of quiet that lets you know something is terribly wrong. Emily wasn't moving. Her body was twisted at an impossible angle, her face covered in blood. I don't know if she died on impact or if she suffered. The paramedics said she was gone by the time they got there. I told the police I didn't remember what happened and they believed me. Because the truck driver had been drinking. The blame fell on him, case closed, and no one ever questioned it. But Emily knew. The first call. The call started a week after the funeral. It was 3:15 when my phone rang. I was still half asleep, disoriented, but I answered anyway. "Why did you let me die?" voice was crystal clear. No static, no distortion, just there. I dropped the phone. That was the first time, but not the last. The calls kept coming. Every single night, same time, same question. I stopped answering, but it didn't matter. She started leaving voicemails. Some were just silence. Others were breathing. Slow, wet breathing, like someone struggling to take their last breath. I changed my number, got a new phone, even moved to a different apartment. But it didn't stop. Then came the nightmares. At first they were just flashes, headlights screaming, the taste of blood. But then they got worse. I started seeing it from her perspective. I'd feel the impact, hear my own screams. I'd feel the glass slicing through my skin, the weight of the car crushing me. But the worst part, the moment before everything goes black, the moment where she realizes she's going to die, the pure terror in her eyes. Every time I wake up gasping for air, and every time the phone rings, the text message. Last night was different. I didn't wake up from a nightmare. I woke up because I couldn't breathe. It felt like someone was pressing down on my chest, squeezing the air out of my lungs. I tried to sit up, but I couldn't move. Then my phone buzzed. Look outside. I didn't want to. I really, really didn't want to, but I did, and that's when I saw her, Emily, standing under the street light, her head tilted at an unnatural angle. Her arms hung limply at her sides, her body still dressed in the clothes she died in, blood-soaked jeans and a ripped hoodie. Her face was a mess of torn skin, shattered bone and rage, but she was still smiling. My phone rang at 3:15 a.m. I didn't answer, I just stared, and then she took a step forward. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen, watching her, but eventually my phone buzzed again. Another text. Time's up. The lights in my apartment flickered. The TV turned on by itself, playing static at full volume. My phone screen glitched, warping her last message until the words twisted into something new. I want you to see what I saw. Then everything went black. When I woke up, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was sitting in my car the night of the accident. The truck was coming. I knew it was coming. I tried to move, to scream, to do anything, but I couldn't. This time I wasn't in the driver's seat. I was in Emily's. I watched as I glanced down at my phone as the headlights grew closer, as the impact ripped me apart from the inside out. And then I woke up. Back in my apartment. But something is different now. My phone isn't ringing at 3:15 anymore. Because I don't need the calls. I remember everything. I remember what she saw. And I think I finally understand what she wants. I don't think this is over. Not yet. That to me just feels like insane guilt manifesting in nightmares and whatnot and hallucinations. I know it's not real, but that just feels like his guilty conscience has created some kind of like demon or whatever. But anyways, that was No Sleep Reddit stories. To be honest, all four of them are pretty decent. Sometimes with these videos you have one where it's a bit like, it wasn't great, but these were all pretty solid. I didn't find any of them super scary, but they were all like decent in my opinion. But anyways, I think that is going to do it for tonight's video. Everybody, I really at the minute, but once I get back ahead with videos and everything, I'm going to go back to live streaming at least once every 2 weeks.